the 2024 ICT mentorship on YouTube. It's for free. If anybody's selling you these videos, you're a moron. You're paying for it when it's all for free. But I started it with showing you just intraday volatility. So that way you can read short-term highs and lows, relative equal highs and lows, draws on liquidity, time of day studies, and looking at the influence of what liquidity and inefficiencies in price will offer. So that way it gives you an initial affinity for which one do you like more. Meaning that, first question of the day, are you a student or student/trader that's already been profitable using something else and you're trying to just learn something here, or you're just a trader and you're just here not really trying to learn, but you just want to compare notes? Are you a trader that is influenced by the inefficiencies in price? That means like these single passes in price, that's a buy side balance, sell side inefficiency. These one single little areas where we call it as a gap. Do you have an affinity for those where your eye just jumps to them and you either want to trade inside of them as an entry or target them as your terminus where you're reaching for? Or are you a individual that sees the high and you want to draw to that high to get to the buy side just above it, or relative equal highs to get above those highs? Or do you look at lows that are relatively equal or a singular low and try to use that as a basis for your expectation the market's going to drop down just to engage the liquidity below those lows? You're one or the other. I don't care what school of thought you're using as a trade idea or methodology. You're doing one or the other, okay? And if you're not doing that, then you're really just probably trading off of indicators, and the indicators aren't necessarily going to deliver one of those conditions. So you're going to have to come to the conclusion that either you're going to engage price initially to get into a trade idea with a inefficiency, or entering on liquidity. Liquidity is below old lows or a singular low, or above a singular high, or above relative equal highs. That's it, okay? Now, you may be trading inside of a range, and that smaller short-term low or short-term high is a catalyst for you to get into. For instance, like institutional order flow entry drill, which I taught this week. So now you know there's a little bit more elements to it, and that way you can have a foundation to build on. You may start on one school of thought thinking, I want to enter on fair value gaps and target fair value gaps as my exiting strategy. And then all of a sudden, because you understand the principles of liquidity, time of day, when does the market spool, when does the market take off? Like, when's it reaching for something that is, in your opinion, or my opinion, that it's reasonable to take a partial profit to fund the trade, get something out of it, remove risk, and that way you have a free look, okay? Then you're getting paid to see if it works beyond that point, and that's a real good feeling mentally. It's a wonderful place to be in as a trader, where you've taken a partial, you moved your stop to cover costs. There's absolutely nothing barring, a traumatic experience that nobody can really foresee, upsetting that trade. So that way you have a free look and then paid to see the outcome, versus getting into a trade and not knowing what you're going to do and only holding for the best case exit strategy, which to me is too myopic. There is no trader, and I'm considering myself up in the upper percentage of this bracket of people. I can see what price is likely to do. I can time the market. My students have done the same thing. It's transferable information. But I know that I'm not perfect. I'm capable of messing it up. Me, the human part of me, I'll mess it up. I'll either try to outperform my own concepts, or I'll finesse it, try to do something fancy, and either miss the trade because I can't get my limit executed, or I have completely omitted something in the chart that would have otherwise been more salient and obvious for me, but I'm trying to address a concern of a student, or I may sit down in front of the charts and I'm angry about something. Like one of my puppies, she had an accident in our brand new mattress. Just bought a brand new bed, brand new mattress, and my wife let her fall asleep in the bed, and Scout made a mistake and she tripled. And it wasn't a lot, but I lost my mind over it. So now we got to get another fucking mattress because I can't have that. But when I sit down in front of the charts, if my mind's occupied on something like that and it's revving and revving and revving, I know I'm more prone to make a mistake. I'm more prone to exact revenge, exact my wrath. And I want to have somebody's head on a stick because something's either gone wrong in my house, something's gone wrong with something I planned for. Maybe one of my kids didn't listen, they didn't do something. I'm a human being, just like you. And you're going to have all these influences. So in those instances, the human aspect of ICT, the man, will mess it up. And because I'm not trading off of something entirely automated all the time, I have to make things discretionary. I got to go in and say, okay, I want to trade this, but then I'll make a decision on how many contracts do I want to trade. And if I have anything external stimulating the end result, meaning if I'm angry, I want to have some kind of a victory or something. I can't change the fact that one of my children may have done something that caused me to have to bail them out financially because they've done something they can't afford. They wreck something, their car gets screwed up, and I gotta buy them another one. They need help sometimes. But if they don't do the things I ask them to do or avoid the things I tell them to avoid, and they make that mistake, I get frustrated by it. So it's tapping that rejection button. Let's go out to the daily chart real quick, and I'll walk you through this because we're a couple minutes away from the opening bell. Now, if you look at what we have here, this is my daily volume of bounce. This is the one I was using. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see SET on TradingView. Okay, if you toggle that, see what it does? It changes the volume imbalance. Many of you probably had your volume imbalance set to that. I shouldn't say many of you, I only had a few of them. But I had a couple people leaving comments saying, hey, mine was already filled in. I don't know what you're doing. You're making a mistake. I'm capable of making a mistake, but I'm not going to make that mistake while I'm trading and I'm looking at the levels I'm reaching for. And what I do is, this is the answer to the question, do I toggle the settlement? Because this is basically allowing the TradingView to use the settlement price as the close on your daily chart candles or not. And to answer your question and make it very simple, I'm looking for PV arrays, whether I'm using the settlement price toggled on or off. Now, I'm showing you here, this is what you probably had on yours. That's not a problem, that's not a mistake. It just means that you didn't do this to see the wider volume imbalance that was there. I'm always gonna afford myself the range that's a little bit beyond where the initial one was. So if there's a fair value gap, one toggle of settlement used or not used, and it's broader and wider, I'm going to elect to use the wider one. I'm not trying to get the smaller one. I'm going to use the wider one. The same thing happens here. This is the one I'm using. That's what's on my chart, okay? When we traded up to this candlestick right there, remember, this is what I said. Well, we went up to this part, and we had that remaining portion left. And then it traded through it. But volume imbalances are what? Inefficiencies. And inefficiencies are gaps. Gaps are not one and done, filled and forgotten, tossed out with the, toss the baby out with the bathwater. It's already done now. That gap is filled. We're not retail. We don't think like retail. We're not, John Petticoat's dollar mentorship. We're not trying to do stupid ass backward stuff. Okay, we're not trying to think like street money. We're not trying to think that, the algorithms changed, because I'm going to rub somebody's nose in it today with that. The idea of toggling back and forth, I see this rejection block, okay? But the same thing, I want to see where does that candle body go if I toggle it off. And that's why that's my rejection block, because it's the one that's further away. Further away from where, ICT? Well, when it's down here and I'm reaching up for them, these are premium arrays. When price was below this volume imbalance, like that, and we're below it down here, that's a premium array. We want to see it dig into that. Go back and listen to Tuesday's August 13th, 2024 live stream. Towards the end of the live stream, I walk you through the daily chart. Okay, I'm showing you all the levels. The rejection block was the next, then we have consequent encroachment of this wick, and then we have the high where the buy side is. And I said, ultimately, as long as nothing happens in the Middle East, we're probably going to trade up into this inefficiency here. And I'll have to see how we trade in there to determine whether or not I feel convicted enough to go into this high here. Just go back, it's there. Okay, I can't change it, I'm not able to edit anything, but you can see that's where we reached into. Now, we have continuously pressed in, and I told you that it's not likely to be sustained having this many days up without a down close candle. So it's unsustainable. And that's why we had this singular down close candle, which is good. You want to see that. And you want to see, does price respect that? It trades above it, yes. And today we opened, traded down into that candle, and then rallied back up. Where is it reaching into? The rejection block that you toggle here. Now, this is the part that frustrates some individuals because this is too many parts. This is too many moving parts. Well, listen, folks. You're expecting to be able to walk out of high school, quit university, say, I ain't going to college, I'm going to school of ICT. He's got everything on his internet YouTube channel, and it's for free. So I'm just going to study that, and I'm going to just be a smart money concepts trader / ICT because it's the same fucking thing. I'm tired of people talking like SMC is something apart from me. That is me. It's just you're replacing my name, ICT, with my concepts, which I dubbed smart money concepts. Wyckoff is fucking not smart money concepts, okay? It's not. That's a very, very good introduction to how price can move around, but it doesn't give you the details that Daddy ICT is. So Papa's in the house today. We're going to be cooking today. And I'm going to hurt some feelings today, but I want this to be the last conversation I have about this because I'm tired of seeing asshats in other people's comments, in my comments, sending me emails saying, you're renaming SMC. Motherfuckers, I created SMC. That's mine. It's fucking mine. Look at the banner on my YouTube channel. I'm the creator of this stuff. There's nobody else out there that had these things, these concepts, ever in any of their shit. Never. Find it. It's there. It's there. If it's there, you're going to get it. $5 million. I got a student. It's in my private mentorship. Don't be offended by this. But he's seen some things in Andrew's pitchfork and median lines. And he thinks he's hit a vein of gold. That's not even close to it. But hey, I'm not here to try to disparage. He might find something that gives him a model in that. But that's not what you're seeing here. Okay, I promise you that is absolutely not. The algorithm has absolutely no respect of Andrew's pitchfork or Andrew's median lines. And if you never looked at it, just start investigating it yourself too. That way you have I have 1,300,000 people now looking at Andrew's pitchforks and Andrew's median lines, because if I have all of you looking, nobody will leave a stone unturned. That way we'll all know that ain't it either, okay? Don't be offended. I'm not going to say your name. You know who you are. And I have one of my user groups that some of my other students kind of like beat him up a little bit. I haven't been aware of all that, but it's apparent that he's been slapped around. But I can see why he would have gotten a little bit of bruising, because he's insisting on that this is pre-ICT, so therefore that's the algorithm. But yeah, I'll invite all of you to that same thing. Look into it, okay, and you'll discover that ain't it either. But if it makes you feel good, do it. You ever see Demon Knight with what was it? The Crypt Keeper. There's a scene in there where the main I guess the demon monster guy. I can't think of his name. His name's escapes. He's not really in movies anymore. I thought he did a great part there, but he goes, if it makes you feel good, do it. Well, in this regard, you're going to waste your time if you're really trying to convince yourself that that's what it is. First of all, that doesn't give you anything except for it looks like it afterwards. Today, we're going to talk about how it happens, when it happens, and how you can stop watching people that make videos that say, you should stop trading SMC because of this, or don't trade ICT, or don't watch ICT stuff, or don't waste your time with ICT stuff. Because I don't know if you've been here since we started this mentorship, but I have been literally molten lava in motion. I've been scorching everything, burning everything. And today I'm going to be burning down a lot more. Okay. And I'm going to piss people off. It's going to make them make more videos, which is great because it brings them all to my channel so they can see their asses getting roasted. I'm not watching your stuff. I'm getting people sending me comments about this, that, and the other thing. Well, this guy, he made a video that we shouldn't watch smart money concepts, or they changed the algorithm and there's some smart money concept traps. Okay, we're going to cover all that stuff. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then I'm going to give you some supportive detail and examples. And you tell me who the fuck knows what's going on. Okay, I'm not making videos for drama's sake and getting, look at this, I'm going to start a fire so that way I can get some attraction, some traffic to my YouTube channel, because clicks are what makes the money, right? If you need ICT in your videos, either in the title or mentioning my name or my concepts or whatever, you're kind of a, I don't know what you want to call that. I don't know what that is. It's something that is not worthy of being watched, I'll tell you that. Because every single time, and there's a guy out there that has his entire channel about me, failing fucking miserably still. None of that stuff brings anybody to, oh, yeah, that's right, it doesn't work. What happens is they want to see what I'm going to say in response, or how I'm going to reply to it, or what am I going to do after that? Oh, no, oh, you really exposed ICT there. And then I come in here and I'm doing this, telling you exactly what's going to happen. Tuesday, where's the market going to go? The bias has been bullish. Where's it going to go? Each one of these individual levels, each one of them are micro targets in that price delivery continuum. Every little fluctuation that goes higher, you're aiming for the next PV array. But if it hasn't changed its underlying direction, if there hasn't been a reversal, has the Middle East turned into a sea of glass? No. There's saber rattling over there. There's some things being lobbed into one country and they're going over and doing some other things. All that stuff is still going on, but it hasn't really boiled over yet. And when it does, you'll know it. It'll be in the marketplace. You'll see it. It'll be huge downcomes, and we can't always predict that. So that makes me cautious when a move is long in the tooth like this. So we're getting ready to trade into the midpoint of this wick if we continue higher. So let me mark that, and then we'll drop back down lower time frames, and I'll continue with this carnival-like atmosphere. Let me take this off, this off, this off. We don't need that. We don't need that. That's that. And drop down to a 1 minute chart. So there is consequent encroachment on that premium wick. Okay. So if we trade to this above it and come back down and treat it as support, because now we're in the opening. So now we're in the opening range. Opening range, not opening range gap. Opening range gap is this. Sessions to regular. This is your opening range gap. Previous settlement, day session. Here to the opening, first print. Okay, so that's your opening range gap. If we toggle this back to electronic hours, there's your gap. That is the wick's consequent encroachment, midpoint of the wick on the daily chart. It does not need to trade there. But we have a gap here. So this is the highest probable, I was saying this many times before, but this is the highest probable location. When you have a gap, the first thing in my mind is, do we have the ability, the interest, the speed for price to reprice to half of the gap? This is where we closed at yesterday's settlement price using day session hours. That price here is the low of the opening range gap. The first print at 9:30 That's your opening tick on this candle right here. That is the high. They don't change. These levels do not move around. They're not dynamic. But the opening range, which is the first 30 minutes, that is a dynamic range. It can expand throughout the entirety of that 30-minute time frame. Meaning, right now, the highest high is here. So it's this. We have this. See how I can multitask? I can sling shit, talk trash, be a troll, and still come out here and teach you over a live price action. That's amazing. I can chew bubblegum too. I just don't have any on me right now. All right, and this is the lowest value right now. Okay, so this is why, like, I'm not trying to draw these levels on. I'm just watching and referring to them. And every time we make a lower low, I'm watching where we go after that. And if we start turning around and retracing, I'll mark whatever that lowest low is inside of up to 10 a.m. So this is what you're doing every single day. You're monitoring and watching from where we open, what is the highest high and the lowest low that forms until 10 o'clock. So I believe your name is Louisa. You have some numbers before your name. You're usually very complimentary in the comment section, but you asked the difference between opening range gap and opening range. This is what you're doing. So hopefully this has answered your question. If not, ask again, I guess. I don't know. I see you just about every single day, multiple times in the comments. So anyway, the opening range is what we're watching. Do we have a fair value gap form? So inefficiency. The very first fair value gap that forms after 9:30 in this first 30 minutes interval is such a fucking powerhouse. It is such a wonderful secret weapon that I don't want none of you to tell anybody about it, okay? You keep it between us. If you tell anybody this stuff, they're going to change the algorithm. It's never going to work ever again. You like that shit? It's funny. I love it. I mean, I get people all the time saying they changed the algorithm. Okay, there's a joker on Twitter that said they're going to change the algorithm. It's not going to work anymore this year. No, and no. Okay, no. There are some out there that took my leaked content and made their own mentorship out of it and called order blocks a Wally fucking block. And other ones ripped them off, and then they said, no, it's an institutional candle. No, it's this, that, and the other thing. So there's no honor among thieves. Everybody that stole from me has been stealing from each other, and they're all trying to put mentorships together to scratch some money together instead of just simply trading the stuff that they supposedly understand. So what we're looking for is in that first 10-minute interval, which is the opening range. Okay, so let's say it like this. Can you tell I'm having fun? I didn't feel good yesterday when I first woke up. I didn't sleep well. I was excited about my niece going away to college, but then I was starting to think, what happens if she goes to a party and she puts her drink, because she's very beautiful. Like, she's a very, very pretty young lady. She's very attractive, and I can see if someone else in a college environment like that were to see her and they were not a man of character, they could probably want to do something. And I told my wife, I said, you have to have a conversation with her without trying to scare her. That, if she goes to a party, whatever, to not put her cup down, don't put her drink down, because pieces of shit that had every reason to have their balls cut off and fed their cock for doing things like that to women, it's a possibility. And I don't feel like going to prison trying to find somebody that does anything to her in college. So this is our opening range. So it's a time period. Okay, it's a time period that begins at 9:30 and it goes up to 10 o'clock. That is the real opening range. The algorithm refers to this. It does not look at fucking 15-minute opening ranges. It doesn't look at the first 5 minutes. It doesn't look at the first 20 minutes. It looks at the first 30 minutes, okay? That's what it does. So what your interest is you want to see what this dynamic range in time is doing. What's the highest high and the lowest low? And the first fair value gap that forms in this first 30 minutes, you want to extend that throughout the entirety of the day, okay? All the way until 3:45 Eastern time, New York local time. You'll be surprised how often amazing, I'm talking amazing trades will form off that first fair value gap in that 9:30 to 10 o'clock interval, that opening range. I do not want you to take my word for it, okay? I've taught this in private mentorship. I've taught this and mentioned it in Twitter Spaces last year. I think if I'm not mistaken, last spring. I talked about how you can do this, okay? And because I have so many concepts, like I said, I got 81 of these things, 81 of them, and they're not all just inversions of one thing. They're individual things, and they themselves are invertible. You hear that word? I just coined it, invertible. You might have a convertible, baby, but he's got invertible, okay? Come on. Keep up. So right now, this is the lowest low. We want to see, does it expand down through it? The first probable level is that midpoint of the gap, and that gap is the opening range gap. Opening range gap. We'll put that in the middle. Make it real small like that so it's not too obnoxious. My ego is enough, obnoxious enough. We don't need any more, right? So you're always hunting, and I'm looking for it through not just the 1 minute chart, but I'm looking for it also in 15-second chart, a 30-second, 30-second, 15-second chart, 45-second chart. These motherfuckers got a lot of nerve calling me right now. Forgot to put this on Do Not Disturb, so now I'll try to get an answer. The 15-second, the 30-second, the 45-second chart, I'm watching that as well. Right now, as I'm watching this with you, I'm just holding a laptop. I'm in my morning room. I have to be where my dogs can see me. Otherwise, they will howl and scream and cry because my wife and the kids are not here. So usually I'm upstairs or I'm downstairs, and they tend to them. So I'm not distracted. Sometimes you probably heard them in the background. But I'm only looking at this through the chart I have expanded right now. So I have no advantage. I have no 12, 13 monitors, spread out in an array of, like Batman's Batcave. Like I don't have any of that stuff. NASA is not being used today. I'm just simply looking at one screen, one time frame, and I'm outlining it. That way, if you use a tablet, like an iPad or a Samsung tablet, which is superior, that is what you'd accomplish here. You're just looking at one screen, and you just have to toggle through and go through your time frames that way. Generally, when I'm actively trying to take a trade, I'm looking at the 15 to 5, the 1 minute, and then I have that matrix template that has all of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I have a 45-second chart, a 30-second chart, and a 15-second chart. And I'm looking for the first fair value gap that forms in those time frames if I have a bias. So right away, I want you to think, I've said it before, it's not a panacea. It doesn't mean it's going to work every single time. But whenever you have a gap up, which is where what we have here, we have yesterday's settlement price, and you determine that by going into regular trading hours. That's that price right there, okay? And you toggle that, or not toggle, but you annotate it, and you annotate the first tick opening price. That is your opening range gap. Now, when it gaps up like that, you want to find the midpoint of that, because many, many times you're going to see it trade to that level. It may afford you a setup. If there is a setup that yields a run from, say, maneuvering something up here off of a premium rate and starts to break down, and you get a fair value gap, say on a 15-second chart or 30-second chart or 45-second chart or the 1 minute, and it affords you a range from wherever that gap is to the midpoint of the gap, that could be your very first training wheels. So what are you doing? in the first 30 minutes? Well, if you don't know how to trade, you should be studying, observing what price is doing, because you don't know what you're looking for. So what can you do with that 30 minutes of time while not knowing how to trade? You study it. You look for the very first inefficiency, the very first fair value gap that forms in that 30 minutes. That's the one that the algorithm is going to, like, it's like the center, it's like the centerpiece, okay? It's the focal point for the daily range. Until we enter a trending day, that fair value gap can be used multiple times for multiple trades, both directions. And it's like one of the really, I can give it to you and have no fear of it, failing, because it's simply going to be there all the time. They're not going to change anything. It's doing something else, but it's not necessary for you to know what that is right now, or ever, really. It's just like when you get in your car, if you push the button, if it's a push button ignition, or if you put the key and you turn it, and you got gas and the battery's right and the starter works, the chances are it's going to do what? The motor's going to turn over, and then you're probably going to be able to drive it. How far before you crash? That's their skill set, okay? But here, we're looking at a measurable thing that you can go back and back test, see if there's any truth to it. Because anything I say, I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to go into the charts and see, play like a detective and say, is this true? Because if it's true, I should have ample evidence to say that this man is telling me the truth, or he's full of shit and I don't ever need to go back and watch his videos, okay? I want you to be that critical of me, because if it's not obvious in the charts, I want you to say, I'm turning ICT off and I'm going to do something else. But I'm convinced, and I've done this, and this is how I've always taught, I challenge everyone. And sometimes I start fires and say, hey, look, your shit's garbage, and this is what really works. And I know that their audience will be offended by that, and they're going to want to say, well, let me see how much better my stuff is versus his stuff. And then they come and they're like, oh shit. And then they change jerseys and they're on Team ICT, when it's no Team ICT. It's just them seeing what the truth is and why price moves the way it does. But the mid part of that gap, whether it's an up gap, okay, so this is a premium gap. Why? Because we gapped higher than where we settled. So this is a premium opening range gap. If we gap lower than the previous day's settlement, and we say we open down here, that is a discount opening range gap. Okay, very simple. Same thing, as soon as you get the first ticket, 9:30, you want to throw a fib on that just to get the midpoint. The midpoint has a 7, listen to this bullshit, okay? It's all fake. You're never going to be able to find it in the charts. Promise you. You're going to waste your time if you backtest this. I'm being facetious, but that's what everybody else is going to tell you. All you have to do is go back in time and look at it. You'll see it's there. It's a 70% chance that that mid-gap level is going to get hit. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get a 70% chance of getting an entry that's profitable, that never got stopped out, that never had drawdown. It's just going to be a straight line run right to the mid part of that gap. It doesn't mean that. What I'm saying is 70% of the time from the opening price to 10 o'clock, that level gets hit 70% of the time. By in and of itself, that right there should have you rock fucking hard. That's Viagra. For someone that understands pattern recognition, you need to have something that repeats, right? You need to have something that is, okay, this is usually, not always, but it's usually likely to pan out. If you can have something that offers and affords you the opportunity to have that much frequency, how many times does the market open up every week at 9:30? How many opportunities do you have of that? 5, right? So you have 5 chances to go in every single day. If we gap higher or if we gap lower, you can do this drill. You can watch it, you can measure it, you can see it. And then what'll happen is in the beginning, you won't see a fair value gap. You won't see a setup. You won't see anything that is promoting you the opportunity to get into the trade. And some of you are just going to say, well, I'm just going to get in here and sell short because he said it's 7%. You didn't listen. You didn't listen. There has to be something else in the chart that's technically supporting the idea that it will drop down there and how to time it. What I'm saying is it's 70% likely between 9:30 and 10 o'clock that if we have a gap higher, or a premium gap in this case, that means that we opened higher than where we settled yesterday. the 50% of that gap, 70% of the time, it's getting tagged. It's going to retrade and reprice back down to it. It can, but you don't need this initially. It can go all the way back down and fill in the gap. Another instance is when you have this measurement like this and you know where you have the higher gap opening and we're in a premium gap. You want to measure where your quadrants are, upper and lower. Many times you'll see it go down and leave a smaller portion of the gap opening, which is really what I love seeing that. Because say, for instance, say we're bullish, okay? Say we're bullish and we think price is going to go higher. What happens if it doesn't go down here and touch the midpoint of the gap? Does that mean that the market is undecided? Does it mean it's weak? Does it mean it's strong? Does it mean it's really, really bullish? It means it's really, really bullish. Because if it can't come back here, because 70% of the time, probabilities and statistically, you can go back and look and see the data. And don't go back like, 2 weeks and say, oh, go back, make a real project of it, and then make a project of it going forward. Start keeping records on this information I'm telling you. Really keep the data on it, and you're going to see, wow, there's something there. And then what will happen is you'll see that the examples I've shown where I've entered in before 10 o'clock, it's using this logic. And then I'll have a runner that would hopefully probe any movement below the midpoint of the gap to see if I can get down to the lower quadrant. And then all of a sudden, you'll see that's where my other partial was taken. And if I get a gap closure, I'm going to be a little bit higher than the full gap closure because it can do what? In a perfect world, you want to leave a small portion of it open because every gap invite the opportunity that it doesn't completely close in or fill in. That's my main focus so far when I've been teaching gaps in this 2024 is you don't want to see them completely fill in because that's rocket fuel. It's literally like pouring gasoline on a fire that's already burning bright, okay? You throw gasoline on it by not having a gap or inefficiency fully close in, you have supercharged an idea that you may not be able to see it fleshed out early. Look at it right there. So it's like this guy's fucking got a rabbit's foot up his ass. I'm not that kinky now. So we had this one more time. So where we opened down here, 70% of the time. Now, if you go around, you look around for everybody's, dollar menu mentorships, okay? You're going to get a lot of regurgitated ICT stuff. They're going to try to change the names on things. Now, this is the old high of that volume imbalance. Watch that level as well. That's why it's there, okay? Now, again, for the folks that are asking, what's on your notepad? What do you have in notes that's not on your chart? Because I don't like to have all this stuff on my chart. This is way too busy for me, okay? This almost looks like, and come on. There we go. There's the top of the volume imbalance I traded to, okay? So if you didn't want to take a partial at the halfway point of the gap, that could be hitting it right there. Boom, that's your partial because you want to see it get below the opening range gap half if that's your model. How many times, okay, have you heard someone try to teach something and they'll say, oh, yeah, you got about a 70-some chance or you got an 85%, you got a 90% chance, or you see the scammers online, they'll say ICT model, 100% win rate. Guaranteed don't watch that, okay? Guaranteed do not watch that. That's somebody just trying to use my logo and my name for clicks, and they're trying to get someone that's stupid, okay? Because nobody has 100% strike rate. I am not standing out here saying I'm 100% strike rate, okay? I'm telling you that if you can find something that I can prove to you by inviting you to do a free walk forward test, that means now you know the details. You can now walk forward every single day at the opening bell. Did we open higher or lower? Where's the halfway of that gap? Half of that gap is going to get hit before 10 o'clock, 70% of the time. And that means there's something there that could potentially do what? Afford you a drill. Not trade. No, you wanted me to say trade, right? You're not ready for that. You just seem to happen here again. Like every time I come in here and try to show you something and tell you this is what's going to happen. This is where it's likely to do it. And all of a sudden it does it. But there's no algorithm. There's no algorithm. They changed the algorithm. I heard on the street, I got it on good source. Listen, lean in here. I can't say this too loud. People don't hear it. Listen. They changed the algorithm. Don't tell nobody. We're all fucked. Come on. Listen, okay, listen. I understand the engagements and trying to get people to watch your bullshit. Everything's expensive right now. And nobody wants to buy mentorships because ICT's out here teaching this shit for free. I understand. We're in recession now. ICT's recession for all the mentorship guys. I've caused it. And that's okay. I don't give a fuck, okay? If you hate me because of that, you'll learn to love me, okay? Because I'm not going to stop unless I don't feel well. Or my wife says we can't be here together, over live charts. But it's better for you to learn it from the source, okay? Because you're going to see individuals that either sell or have a service that be a part of a community, some kind of Discord horse shit, some kind of Telegram horse shit, some kind of, Mickey Mouse bullshit operation. And they're trying to get you to go there and pay them. And my question is, why are they so hard pressed to get you to not watch my stuff? You don't see them doing it anybody else. It's just my stuff. Because they know if you spend time with me, you're going to see that they have renamed my stuff with their dumb shit. And they can't even do it. If someone that's trying to sell you something and they say, I've proven it with 50% strike rate. And then they say SMC is being attacked. It's being targeted. No, it's not. It's literally someone that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. And they're failing at it because they don't know every aspect that the author who's talking to you knows. See, there's a big difference there. Big difference. And this is the time when the conversation where it sounds like this guy's full of shit. He's a bragger. He's arrogant. No, I'm daddy. Okay. And I'm laying down the fucking smack because I'm tired of getting the same regurgitated questions that these influencer boys that literally cannot do it. If you're selling something, you got a 50% strike rate, you don't fucking deserve anybody's fucking money. You deserve a swift kick in the fucking ass. Get on the road, man. If I stood out here and I told you, this is good, and it's going to be right half the time, how the fuck is that an advantage? You have just the same probabilities pulling an ass raising out. Like, seriously, you have no advantage by going to that source. If they're saying half the time they're right. And they can't make the argument saying that smart money, my stuff, okay, that it's being targeted. You saw what I did yet. Wait till you see what I did in the afternoon. You have no idea. If you're saying that, you have no idea. You don't have enough data to make that claim, okay? You haven't even made it into your 30s yet. Some of you haven't even made it to 26 yet that are saying that. But yet you're a mental giant. You've been around the block enough times to know. You don't know shit. We're sitting at the top of the opening range here. Now what we like to do is, since we hit half of the gap, it's come down there, and then now we're at the top of the gap. Do we have the wherewithal to trade above initial high of the day? And if we do, where can it go? That's what that midpoint of that premium gap on the daily chart is, or the wick of that, the halfway point of the gap that we outlined as that wick on the daily chart. That's what that level is. If we take out the opening range high again and close, if we close above it, anytime that we go below here, opens the stage to come all the way back down to a full gap closure. Otherwise, I'm not interested in going short. It would need to do that. So it has to go below here. So it's smart. I'm gonna just make it painfully obvious to you, okay? The things I'm telling you over live price action, I'm using the lowest latency on the live stream. That means as soon as I say it, it takes whatever amount of time it's going to take to travel through the servers at YouTube, cross the bandwidth of our internet, all the way around the world to where your computer's going to receive it or your phone's going to receive it, and then you hear me talk about it. How can I call it back once I say something? How can I make it come back and you not see it? I can't. So because I'm over a 1 minute chart, I'm using a very, very low latency. I'm using the lowest settings on live streaming. I can't make it get to you any faster. I'm telling you before it happens when there's only 3 to 4 seconds delay. So there's absolutely no bullshit fluff in here. I'm telling you what's going to happen before it happens. What is important, what's not important. If we can discern where the market's likely to go,